Da-da-da! What my good chair. Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes, right? Get those notifications out. Let people know that I've gone live. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and I didn't leave the house today. But I'm very pleased and I'm very surprised actually that I got as much done in getting ahead of the game a little bit for the week that we're going into. And I'm just coming out of one of the busiest weekends that happen every single year in that job that puts the roof over my head. And I didn't think I was going to have anything. And yet, me and my sister, we went out yesterday and we had a fantastic day. Visited our my nephew, her son. We went out thrifting. We scored really well. Had lots of fun doing it. It's something that me and my sister Alice we have in common. We do love a score. We do love thrifting, estate sales. I love being out on the road. I love bottle digging, right? I love metal detecting. I am diverse in my interests, and I know moving forward, we should really, narrow it down and have our couple of hobbies and have a couple of goals always going at the same time. But I love the idea that I can flip in my interest. I love the fact that I got proper influence, and that's what it is. I got proper instructions that I searched out for, and because I resonated with it, because it was information that I felt to be true, I allowed it into my I allowed it into my system. It's part of why my brand is still here, right? It's in that idea of combining all your interests, everything, right? And not just have your brand just show itself in one way. If that was the case, I would have been gone a long time ago, right? I can't bushwhack like I used to bushwhack, though I'm out on the road, right? I still love the road trips. And that's the idea, is to stretch and expand and let your curiosity take you places, right? You guys hang out with me for lots of reasons, right? And it's that commonality, right, that we both want to understand, or we all want to understand the inside, but we have that connection with the outside, right? Maybe you love Mother Nature. Maybe you like my road trips. Maybe you like my urban explorations. I used to explore abandoned farms, abandoned houses, going back to the days of the Hudson Bay Fur Trading Company, right? The Voyageurs. It was so much fun, right? But life pulls us along and we move along in that current. But I'm not sacrificing those loves, those passions, those things that right, flip back and forth from, because it's in those opportunities, right? My September trip is a September trip, but I work all year long at putting it together and dreaming it up and saving the funds for it and choosing the vehicles, right? Choosing the routes. And it draws me away a little bit when things get really heavy, when things become a little disillusioned in the direction I feel something should be going in, and yet it's going in a different way, right? And I'm going to follow that current, right? The way that I'm pulled, but it doesn't mean that I'm not, right, curious that I want to go that way, or I want to try something else. And sometimes, right, we do have to flip in our interests. But because I show up here, right, fresh like a loaf of bread, and I share this movement that I'm making for myself, this little life that I didn't think was possible in all truth. I didn't get to have a lot of that guidance. I didn't have a little bit of that follow me, follow me. Most of the time I was pretty feral. I was on my own, and I allowed my curiosity to take me places, right? So we go back to influence, because influence was the word that we got this week. And I'm thinking about it, right? But also in the way that I want to bring it to the table, because you know credit where credit is due, but at the same time, there's a lot of influence out there that I haven't come across yet, and everybody should have that opportunity to put you in a position where you might absorb something good for yourself, that you got to choose, that you believed in, right? Looking at my notes this afternoon, I wrote this down and I thought, well, how can this be true? I wrote down influence slash influencer is the information or source that we have absorbed into our system, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, but influence is different, right? Because we also absorb manipulation into our systems too, and that's that cautiousness, that's that hypervigilance, that's those walls that we have to bring down, right, in order to be influenced, right? There's no reason why you can't sit in on a conversation and take it in as just information, but we don't have to automatically take it into our systems. We don't have to look at it and say, that's the truth because somebody I admired said that. Lots of people that I admire, right, go on tangents, and I'm looking at them going, yeah, no, I don't think so, right? But that's my perspective, right? Those are my experiences that have impacted the information that comes across my path and what I'm able to be influenced by. Why? Because something has already filled in that space, right? And so it's being willing to be course corrected in some of these ideas that we drum up, and some of these ideas that somebody else drummed up for us, right? And in that influence, depending on how you look at it, could be manipulation, right? Because not everybody out there can be right. And I'm in it every day. And oh my goodness, I'm coming across networks and organizations and thought leadership that I had never taken into consideration. And each one of them has valid points and valid ideas. But, right, in that movement for myself, we got to be careful. Everybody has to be careful and what they allow themselves to be influenced by, right? Because we can go down those paths because of the people that we surround ourselves with, right? Those people that, right, we want to like us, that we want to be like, those people that project onto us, right? All those ideas that we are excited and curious about. And because it feels comfortable in the moment, right? That we stay around people that influence us, because that is influence. They're just being themselves, right? It's not manipulation. It's not intent, right? To mess with you, to change your ideas, to, right? Yank out something you always believed in without your permission and just plant something else in there without your permission. That each one of us, right? And that's a big problem, because that's why we have so many walls and barriers and boundaries, right? Because we have to be hyper vigilant, right? Because there is so much out there, and everybody is vying for your attention. Everybody is. I'm vying for your attention. I'm grateful that you, if you've made it this far, absolutely, absolutely amazing. I'm grateful for that, because I do talk about some heavy things, right? But I think it's important that we talk about these things, because our existence, I think, depends on us being not just physically well, but emotionally and mentally well, so that we can move forward, so that we can expand, so that we can pass on good genes, right? Pass on good genes in a transition that I believe is happening. We are not Neanderthals anymore. But in saying that, we're not Homo sapiens anymore. Conscious man. That's what I call it. Conscious man. Right? It's just another stage in our evolution. And as we move forward, right, we're going to get better ideas, and the science and the medicine. It's all going to be amazing innovations that are going to help us in those transitions to whatever we expand into next, right? But I think that we're meant to move forward. I think that we're supposed to experiment. And I think also we understand a little bit better than we used to, that maybe, right, by taking our own reins and deciding what's going to be allowed to influence us, that we get to decide, right? Rather than, right, your parents or your friends or those people that you're hanging out with just to have somebody hang out with, those organizations that catch you in those moments of weakness and sadness and devastation that happen to all of us. And if we're not paying attention, right, that comfort and that shoulder, which is amazing to have when we're down, but when it's leading us off into places that only in the moment is just going to provide us with a little bit of comfort, rather than, right, leading us where we're really supposed to be, right? And none of us even know what that is, right? Unless we're moving. You gotta move. And I'm very grateful that I made so much movement today. I have no idea. I even got a cold, right? I'm not getting any. I'm getting rest. I'm comfortable. I'm sleeping good, right? I feel good in that. Yeah. Right? That I have different interests. And now that this is complete and I'm set up for the week, anything I do tomorrow is sprinkles, gravy. It's extra, right? So I could think of possibly of doing a few projects around here. Maybe I could go for a walk. Maybe I can connect with my sisters, right? Make a little bit of movement for myself. Or maybe this cold will just finally take me down, because I'm comfortable that I'm not going to be sick and everything's just going to fall apart, right? It would have piled up from where I started with this morning, but I'm on top of it now, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. Okay, so let's pull it back, right, to that main trunk of the tree. And we are talking about that influence, right? We're talking about that influence that each one of us has the opportunity, right? Because we're rubbing with people all the time, not just our families, not just our friends, but with strangers, people at the bus stops, the cashier at the grocery store, the teachers when you pick up the kids, right? Just people when you walk by the sidewalk and you say hello. It's all opportunities, right? And I say it all the time. You guys know I say it all the time. Mother Teresa said that a smile is an action, right? And if it can make some movement, and I know it makes some movement because it's a lesson of hers that I take to heart. Why? Because I've seen the evidence that it works, that it does make a difference in somebody's day, moment, life. It most definitely does. And you know what? It doesn't have to cost anything. You don't have to say, but I have nothing to give, right? You can smile, right? You can be that shoulder just so that somebody can cry on, right? Just that gift with no expectations, with no sway in any direction, right? Because in the end, I think this pain and this grief and these hardships and these moments that we have only calls for us to be with ourselves, right? And right, and really, if anybody is there in that deep stage, especially in the beginning, right? I think it's something that individually we need to sort out, right? Not everything needs to be a family affair. Headline, headline news, right? Right? Something to put out there because, ooh, you got a chance to catch somebody's attention, an opportunity to influence. Just come in. Just come in with no expectations, with no agenda. Half the time I come in here, all I've got is that powerful word. That's all I've got. Right? And I come in here and I haven't even, well, I've given it thought and I've had lessons throughout the course of the day. But in those few minutes and looking at the notes, you go, where are you going to take this evening? You just kind of go blank sometimes, right? Or there's that lesson to say, well, if you had written it down when you thought about it, you'd have it, right? So there's those lessons in that too, right? Me and my notebooks, right? But it does serve me. And I do make that movement forward. And I never forget what I've committed to, right? Because when I commit to something, I'm committed to that, right? And I will show up in that. And I'll fail in that too. That's that's the lesson, right? You have to fail in the promise. You have to fail in that commitment in order to recognize that, right, you're only human. And to recognize the uncomfortableness of that, right? The uncomfortableness. If you're anything like me, make a mistake once, right? Explain what I did to me. I will not do it again. I do not like making mistakes, but none of us do. But I'm grateful that I'm hanging out with the entrepreneurs. I'm grateful, It's in that experience that we learn to get better in where we're weak, right? And then when we have that opportunity to rub shoulders with some good advice, that it allows us to see the evidence for ourselves. That is the influence that we can allow into our system because we've seen it. It's proved itself in its workings, and it's in what you felt, what you saw in that evidence for yourself. And that is influence, right? Manipulation, probably not going to see much in the way of evidence. Might get a good story, right? You might get a good salesman, right? You won't get that real though, and that's where the difference is between influence and manipulation, because manipulation is only serving self, and that's truth, right? It's just that steering to get you somewheres that you might not even want to be, but somebody else thought, ooh, that'll be a good place for them. And they drop you off somewheres, right? And you have no idea. And now it's up to you to crawl your way out of it, find your way home. Okay, you guys. I'm going to leave it at that. I think my days off are getting the best of me now, but I think tomorrow will be a rest day. I don't think there is too much that I need to do, but there were a few things that I would have liked to do. And so we'll see how tomorrow goes, right? Put a little bit of rest and relaxation in there, right? There wasn't too much of that on my days off, nor in the preparation for the dollar days that we had, the busy weekend that we had, and yeah, maybe it'll be a little bit lighter at work. Still got to get things done though, right? If you can't find a project, I'll find one for you. Yeah, whistle while you work. Okay, you guys, I'm babbling now. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Um, I'm going to try to come in the afternoon when the ideas and the lessons are there still on the surface, and I haven't wasted every single last drop of whatever I have. Yeah, I feel good though. I feel good about this. Okay, you guys, have a great night.